Alrighty, good evening everyone. We've made it. We're here for the last of the Artificial Intelligence and Games Summer School TV for 2021. I'm Tommy. Enrica's here as always, as my wonderful co-host. But
Hello.
Antonius is here as well. We're just getting straight into it. You said you had, Antonius, you said you had to get ready for being live on prime time. Like, what's the process for yourself?
Apparently I click on a button and then I realize that my camera is off. So that's my preparation. Actually, I know what the good preparation is. I'll tell the audience now. You just mess up something really early on the show, and that loosens everybody up because it's going to be, it's going to be great after this. So that's my plan. Mess up something right now.
That would explain most of the mistakes that I've made in the opening of every session, but I feel like now we're just taking a jab at me.
No, we're learning from the best. Also, I'm the one that messed up now, so you're fine.
Yeah, so actually, was it because the Zoom call that this runs from wasn't ready until about 15 minutes ago, and so we had because the summer school was just ending. We had the closing session with everyone, and of course, Antonius, you were there making announcements for the game jam and everything else, and I'm like pinging you directly in that, like, please open the room for the TV because I need to come in and test everything, and I need to press buttons, and none of it's ready. And my anxiety is going through the roof. You're like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm doing this.
Doing this other thing.
But yeah, so we wrapped up. That's us. Sarkova gives a tear, sheds a tear for us live on the chat. Good stuff. Because yeah, we had we had the two talks from AWS Game Tech, Frederick Novak and Elisa Kim, and we also actually Nick Walton came in and gave his talk, originally scheduled for yesterday, talking about AI Dungeon and all the work related around that. But of course, the game AI Jam is kind of the big highlight of the day. So we're going to talk a little bit about the jam. We're going to have a look at the winner, probably talk to the winners as well. And then this is the fun bit. So fun. This is a habit that Antonius and I took from when we did the FDG TV last year, is we have a sort of post-mortem live on the air. So we're also going to be bringing in the bosses to come and have a chat with us. We'll see how inebriated they are by the time they join us, and then we'll also probably bring David out as well, and we can have like the entire kind of summer school TV group here to have a chat about what worked and what didn't. So, game jam. Wow, look at that. I made a brand new scene for you, just full of game jam games. Antonius, talk about the game jam.
Cool. So the game jam this year, because it was virtual, we ran it from the beginning. So we ran from Monday until Friday, running obviously during the evenings and mornings and whenever people could find time. But we really are happy with the contributions that we had. So I'm just going to talk really quickly about what you're seeing right now. So this is the ship jam from the Straw Hat Pirates, which is essentially a number of procedural generated archipelagos where an AI player is trying to defeat a human player. And the team was made out of many people, and they each trained their own individual players. So it was a really nice way to at least split tasks. So here we actually see change, which is actually an acronym for a very long acronym. I have it here: Collaborative Human AI NPC Game Environment, and it's essentially a gym of 4 different environments where it's supposed to be AI human cooperation. In this simple example shown here, it's about telling the AI which way to go by signaling. This one is the Garden of Eden, to be specific, and it's actually generative adversarial neural network trained on a few examples, which there's a number of height maps and a number of trees and shrubs placed on the assets, and then it actually you train a DC GAN to put trees on every landscape that is being created by designer live. So we're going to hear more about it later, actually. It's trained on, yeah. And so as you see here, the designer actually draws live the heat map, and the trees are spawned procedurally live.
They did their video in almost exactly a minute, so it just transitions straight over to the next one.
Sorry. This is Metal Tetris, which is actually a very interesting game design. It's a gamification of industrial cutting techniques. We actually had Karina meet here on, I believe, Wednesday to talk about it. And there's also, so this is the user interface, the game component, but there's actually Unity ML agents that are training to play the game with some sort of, I assume, difficulty assessment procedure, right? So if the AI agent can figure it out, maybe it's not hard enough, or it can at least evaluate its difficulty. So it's really, really cool that people could not only make a game, design a game, a playable game, but also train AI for it as well at the same time. And that was because, we had teams of 5 or 6 people, so it's easier to find tasks for them, right? It's always a challenge when you have a bunch of programmers in there and okay, so we don't have a designer or an artist. What do we do? This is actually Cat City. It is a quality diversity evolutionary algorithm that creates a number of city blocks, and then it uses wave function collapse on top of that to create the buildings on those blocks. So obviously what you see here is you're a cat, and there's a number of cats in the world, and you're walking around the city. But what is really interesting is that the map elites here is directly the feature map of map elites is directly transposed into a playable city. So that's what I had to say about this one.
And it's got cats.
A lot of people focus on the cats, unsurprisingly. So it's a clever ploy. Here we see Rogue Life, which is actually a co-evolution. It's not exactly co-evolution. You basically train the agent and the generator in order to compete against each other. So there were a number of rule-based agents that were trying to basically defend their cauldron from skeletons spawning from graves. So they had a number of strategies to deal with that. And then the generator, which was a search-based approach, was trying to evolve levels that would challenge the player. But there was also a learning agent that was not really tested that would have made this a truly, let's say, co-evolutionary process. Jumping straight into wordplay, this is actually again a PCG project. It's using human language as a seed to generate dungeons. So they trained and many thousands of generated dungeons. They attributed them to some human text, and then you could input any sort of prompt. Usually it was designed to say something like, I want 9 rooms of low difficulty, but because it's using a pre-trained model, you could say whatever you wanted, and allegedly it would accommodate that. So that worked quite well. We tried to break it and obviously succeeded, but it was quite robust until it wasn't. So it was a really interesting project.
Wish I'd written down the running order of the games as they actually appear in this video.
All right. Now we also have this was a single person project made by Martin Pickelmeyer, which was using GPT-3 to solve essentially it wasn't really a locked room mystery. It was a mystery that was being generated by the GPT-3 as we went along. So it was not really bound, but it was seeded with the original prompt, handwritten prompt that was alluding to a real novel, a real Sherlock Holmes novel. The player was acting as Watson and telling Sherlock Holmes what to do, or asking Sherlock Holmes some questions. Things like, who was in the room, or why was this there? And then basically the GPT-3 natural language generation would just say whatever it wanted, I guess. And this created a really nice scenario where eventually you wanted to find the murderer to the victim, and I guess that was the solution. But you could reach it in very, very interesting ways. Many of them broken. Many of them broken. I managed to break it live, so I'm very proud of that. But I think it wasn't a very hard challenge. This is Vario Bros. It was actually the runner-up of the best game by popular vote. It actually uses a number of many cool texts in the background to personalize levels for a specific user. So it's using variational encoders to generate level chunks. It's using an interesting enjoyment landscape that you can see here as in the figures to pick where the player is and where the player should move around. So based on their preferences, it would go towards a specific direction. So easier, harder, or things like that. Here we see Pac-Man Co-op, which was actually a project that was trying to make some AI for the ghosts to be acting more like a team. Unfortunately, the goal was not reached because we ran out of time, but it was a really interesting project to get people to work together and collaborate. So that was really nice.
I did put in screenshots of the last one. I think it didn't have a video submitted. Was that, I think it was Dungeon AI, I believe it's called.
Yep.
So we got that in there right at the end as well.
Excellent.
Wanted to make sure everyone got their 15 seconds.
Their moment.
Oh, it was 1 minute roughly, unless you submitted something shorter than a minute, in which case. Here
we are. And there we go. So Dungeons AI was a project which was trying to emulate a virtual GM. Luke Dicken mentioned it on Wednesday towards the end, and turns out it's kind of hard. So this was a project that tried to take human prompts and parse them to say, as a GM, what to roll, whether to roll, for example, a strength check, how difficult it can be. So if you said, I want to jump, I can't remember right now what it was, but it would jump over the bridge or something, it would be a strength check, right? Now we're just looping, but I'll just keep talking.
Yeah,
or if it was if they say I want to fix the bridge, it would be an intelligence check or something. But if you could use your inventory as well, so I want to fix the bridge with a hammer, it would make it easier. So it was a lot of handcrafted rules because it's a jam, but you can see how this can be expanded a little bit with natural language processing and word similarity, etc. So those were the projects. I just wanted to say kudos to everybody who participated. It wasn't easy because everybody was in different time zones. They had different degrees of expertise, different timelines, different responsibilities coming from human life. But the results were really amazing for essentially 5 evenings, and really a hand of applause to everybody who participated.
Yeah, I think it's really something to see, particularly the level of work that you're doing alongside actually trying to attend the school and everything else. We recently ran the AI and Games Jam as well, and it was a similar thing of just the level of creativity that comes out and some of the really cool stuff. Like some of these are really, really fun to watch as well, which I think particularly when you're doing jamming is always really useful, that you can actually just you can really sell it very, very quickly.
And because of the virtual nature of this event, we actually had to have people make videos, and they really went to town. If you see some of these videos, they're really nicely made. So that's great dissemination material for us on the TV show.
Yes, as I was given the go ahead, it was like, right, the videos are up, and I'm like scraping every single one of them either off the Git repositories or scraping them off of YouTube or whatever to make sure that we got them all in here. So we have a winner, as I recall.
We do have a winner. I'm not sure how we proceed now.
I think we just say to David. I think we just say to David that we just invite them in.
You really think? I mean, am I supposed to be here as well?
I think you should just stay.
Excellent. This is the level of improvisation you expect from a live show. I believe I can bring them in, actually. Hold on.
Oh, hang on. Oh, so you're going to do it. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, why not?
All right. Well, in which case, I'm going to quickly pass us on to our other stream. That way we can get everybody successfully in the one window.
Straight to the live stream.
None of this stream setup is built for this, what we're about to do right now. And so last night when it's like, could we potentially do this? I'm like, yeah, sure, it will break everything we've done thus far, but let's go for it.
We do everything live. This is the kind of commitment you expect from us.
Okay.
So hello to our winners. Do you want to tell us something about
Congratulations!
yourself? Okay.
Who's producing this? I don't understand.
I don't know, Antonius. Who's producing this show? Who's on top of this and telling us what we're doing?
Usually this is the moment where Tommy screws up some of the names. So
Oh yeah, let Tommy tell us who we're talking to.
No, we're not doing that. No, that's just bullying. I'm just going to go over here. I'm just going to ignore everybody and just go back to this screen for a little while. No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll bring you all back. That's just harassment. That is live on the internet too. Antonius, why don't you introduce us to our winners? Given you are
all right. So this is the team Garden of Aiden. You can see the YouTube. The actually it is on YouTube, isn't it, guys?
Yep.
Great.
Yes.
You can see it. You can see the video here. I'm going to let Anthony introduce the entire team, or actually you can just take turns introducing yourselves and a little bit about your background or what you can tell us about yourselves.
Sure. I think I'll just introduce myself.
Oh, how great.
I wouldn't want to undersell anyone else. I'm Anthony. I've been working in games for about 9 years now. I've worked at Frontier Developments and Sony Guerrilla Cambridge and Microsoft Rare. And I've also worked at Microsoft Research Cambridge on about half a year of machine learning stuff. Christiana?
Well, I'm Christiana. Funny enough, I was already here on Wednesday.
Funny seeing you here.
Yeah. Just people like me so much, I had to show up again. So, as I said before, I'm a PhD student, QMUL, and my background is in games believability, like character and play believability. And yeah, I'm one of the members of the team that won. And I'll pass now on to Quirin.
Well, hello, I'm Quirin. I'm a 4th semester bachelor student. So this is actually very exciting for me because it's my biggest achievement yet. My biggest achievement before that was actually with a fellow student of mine place in Tommy's last game jam this year. We got a place in his video, so that was really nice.
Which game was it?
We did Wave Function Cat Labs.
Oh yeah, that was a great game.
Thank you so much.
A lot of fun, very weird, but very novel use of wave function collapse. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's my background. I study games engineering, and yeah, that's me. So I'll pass on to Kian.
So thank you. I'm Kian. I'm senior bachelor's student majoring in computer engineering. And yeah, I really like games, and I like artificial intelligence and how they come together. And I would like to continue my studies studying this field. And this summer school was a great introduction to this whole thing. So I think I'm blessed. Also with this winning and all of these things. Thank you guys for everyone that voted for us.
Last but not least, let's talk to Sam.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
sure.
Well, I'm Sam, as the name says. Yeah, I'm a recently graduated bachelor student, just graduated in May. I did computer science with a specialism in AI. So that's kind of, part of why I'm here. I did a single course in computer games programming and loved it. And I just, I really wanted to move into that career, and this just seemed like a really nice way to bring those together. So, yeah.
And I believe we have. Okay, go for it. I was going to mention it.
Yeah, we're also missing Hema. who is an indie developer. She's been indie for 2 years, and she's working on bringing machine learning to emotion in what she's working on.
She was actually on Monday, so thankfully we got a glimpse of her.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Earlier on. Cheers.
Cool. And so let's talk about your game a little bit. What was the inspiration behind that? Anthony, do you want to do the job?
Do the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, do the thing.
So what I had experienced whilst I was working, I probably shouldn't say, whilst I was working, we were working on generating landscapes programmatically because we were simulating a system behind the scenes of about 100 meter by 100 meter chunks. And then we'd have to navigate into that area, and we'd have a player who's strolling around at ground level. And all this simulation meant that the data was changing so much you couldn't create a level and then expect it to fit in with all the simulation data that was there. There was climate, which introduced moisture and temperature, but also more abstract concepts like corruption, say. And then all of that meant that we had to capture the environment artists' ideas and try and recreate it on the fly. And what I was trying to do and experimenting with at the time, and what we experimented with here and have proved out, is a way of capturing the environment artist expertise.
So thinking about all this, first of all, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Anthony's Regs t-shirt, because I could immediately tell that you'd worked in and around Cambridge, because only devs that worked in and around Cambridge or someone who QA'd on Regs actually wound up wearing those t-shirts. So yeah, goes to show how small this industry really is. But coming back to the game, so taking it as it is, what's the most difficult obstacle you had to get past during the week when actually trying to build all this?
Maybe Sam could take this one.
Probably the interface, like debugging between Python and Unity, because we kind of took the option of the simplest solution, immediately, and maybe not the wisest course of engineering longer term, game jam style. So yeah, our Unity client was completely blocked. Thread was completely blocked while everything was training. And so we'd get zero feedback until it either crashed or deadlocked or finished. So yeah, that was nice to debug.
That was an experience. So the final question that we asked almost everybody here that attended the school, what was your highlight for this summer school? And we will go around a little bit. Christiana, I guess we already asked you that, but maybe you have something to add, like new.
Any update on this?
Yeah.
Any just small update from 2 days ago. I mean, it's hard to say, because at the end of the day, there's so much information going on, and there's just so many different areas, and all of them are important. After all, that's why we're talking about them. To me personally, it still remains more the player modeling side of things, because that's what my area is in, and that's where I'm starting to go more towards. So for me, I still hold that in the top one for sure.
I mean, we were expecting you to say jam now that you won, but sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, but I thought that was just something that
Don't worry, Antonius will hold a grudge for this. At least until next
he's
year.
definitely going to hold a grudge.
Yeah,
that's fine.
It's very much in character.
Nice. Anthony, what about you?
I'm going to be a bit cliche and say I did genuinely enjoy the jam. Even without winning, we did such a good job. I'm really proud of the work we did. And the stuff that everyone else did, I give a shout out to Vario Bros in particular. I was really impressed with that stuff. But yeah, working with these guys and cracking something out and meeting new people, it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah. I mean, it was an impressive work in general, but even more so because it was remote. I mean, it's easier when you all share a room, definitely. What about you, Kirin?
Well, I have to go even more cliche and say my game jam team, because they were really nice, and especially Anthony, when I got his pitch first, I really didn't think I could help him at all, but he really believed in me, and that was really nice and got things where I can really help stuff with. So yeah, that was nice. But I also enjoyed the creative assembly talk very much. That was really good.
Yeah. Okay. And what about you, Kian?
Yeah, so I think I should follow my team, and I would say Game Jam as well. Especially, I mean, these events, these conferences, I would say the most important aspect, I believe, is the socializing. And game jams are one of these good opportunities that can bring people together. And yeah, I think it was a blessing, especially meeting all these new people, and the whole community was very helping. And also, I think regarding to the talks, I especially enjoyed the AI that experience. The whole talks, they were really inspiring and insightful.
Nice. And you, Sam?
Yeah, of course, the jam. I mean, how could I say otherwise? The team was wonderful. Everyone's been really great. I really enjoyed the PCG day. That's something that's kind of always been a black art to me. And it's directly relevant to what we were doing here. So it was really nice to we started kind of conceptualizing, and then we had like that day that was focused on the thing that we're kind of doing or adjacent to. And it really helped bring it all together. It was very nice.
Cool. Dulcis in fundum. Antonius, how was your experience with the remote thing? I mean, I know that you're stressed, but was it more stressful?
You can tell.
Was it more stressful live or remotely?
The thing about live, so there's the dynamics are different, right? That's the only thing, because everybody is working asynchronously, which is excellent. But then on the other hand, when everybody's in the same room, there's more collegiality. Like one team has a problem, they'll ask the other team, and here it's a bit more difficult. So I felt a bit more responsible, let's say. But in the end, the thing ran so smoothly, and the fact that they had more time to work asynchronously because it's needed, right? Because it's a virtual jam, it worked out well. So as long as you design around your constraints, I think in general, you manage to make it. Were there hiccups? Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll talk about it a lot in the reflections of both the school, I assume, and the TV. But overall, I think it was a very pleasant experience for me, and I hope from what I hear from 4 out of 5 of our guests.
It surely was.
You make it sound like one person really didn't enjoy it.
Well, someone preferred the player modeling track instead of the jam. I mean, come on.
I thought, based on literally everyone else saying the jam, I'm going to go on and say that was the obvious thing. And I thought we were mentioning the conference, but I'll say it again. The jam is definitely a highlight. After all, that's how I ended up here again.
There you go.
And it was pretty much like everyone else said. It was a very interesting experience, especially trying to juggle it between all of the other talks and just coming in, doing stuff, getting out, coming in again and doing things again. And at the end of the day, I actually learned quite a lot, and I made a lot of really good contacts within the team because they were absolutely brilliant. So I'm definitely very happy that I participated. And this is the first time I win a game jam, so there's that.
Funnily enough, actually, there's a comment that's been left in the live chat from Vladislav Lelyashevsky, who said, who designed the clouds? I'm assuming the little purple clouds that explode whenever a tree appears. They brought you to a first place. You should cherish this person. So who's responsible?
It was Christiana.
Yeah, Christiana.
There you go.
I made things pretty.
You did a great job of it.
So there were 2 types of clouds, actually, because there was one on the top, and that was Quirin. But the particle effect that made all those popping stuff and making the trees grow and so on, that was me.
We did it less to polish, and you can see in the video actually that's not even the final product. So it looks way better now than it does in the video. So yeah.
Kept on adding stuff to it right to the very end.
Like 20 minutes before, I think there was quite a few
God.
pictures, measures, all sorts.
Yeah.
Oh God. I've been there, and that actually, when I've done it, it hasn't worked well for me at all. Where it's like 20 minutes before the end, we had merge conflicts and things weren't working. I remember we did the Creative Assembly Game Jam years ago, where we built a game on the show floor of EGX Resd in like 8 hours, and like one of our core mechanics broke in the last like half an hour because of a merge conflict, and we're just like, yeah, we just threw it out. So we didn't. It wasn't as great as it should have been. But,
it's not a game jam if you don't refactor your code on the last day of the jam.
But also, funny talking about the clouds in particular, because you know, one of my friends, Matthew, who I've worked with on game jams and other projects over the years, we often describe ourselves, because he's an artist, I'm a programmer. It's like he makes it pretty, I make it work. And so what Christiana says, I think, is quite relevant. You need someone to make it pretty. Then you also need
Yeah, I
everyone to
think
make
it
it
helps a
work.
lot with voting and stuff. People are visual after all, so I think
Yeah, we got a lot of +1s on the chat with the cloud.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. I think
Thank you.
you'll deserve
you.
some
Thank you.
much needed rest, probably. Christiana, I believe you have a train to catch.
It's a slightly
So yeah, if you're running late, you just tell them, look, we finished first place at the AI and Games Summer School Game Jam.
exactly.
And then they'll automatically have to hold it for you. But yes, thank you all of you for coming on to chat with us for a few minutes to tell us a little bit about it. Congratulations once again. And also, I'm just really happy to hear that you've enjoyed your time at the summer school as well, particularly given this this environment, to be able to still come out of it feeling energized and you know, really jazzed about it. I think that's really says something about the group of you as a whole. So yeah, congrats once again, and hopefully we'll get to chat with you maybe after all the summer TV stuff has ended.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
Tonius, I'll see you in a bit as well, won't I?
Sure. I have a show to produce, but
Yeah, you got a show to run. Okay, go do that. Go do that. Right. There we go. Congratulations once again to the Game Jam team there from the Garden of Aiden. Aiden? Yeah, Aiden. Wonderful work. And I was really enjoying, like, I've been sort of keeping an eye on the Jam feed, you know, on the Discord server throughout the week. And just kind of, I'm always really excited about this stuff because, again, like I said recently, like I ran the AI and Games Jam over at AI and Games. I'm back on my branding today. That's it. I'm finished doing this. You know, this is the last summer school, which means I can now effectively go back to just shilling my own stuff. Now that I've finished saying nice things about the summer school. So we're going to jump back into an interview any second now. We're just waiting. Enrica has commanded and demanded that we bring in the bosses. So we're going to have a chat with, of course, the supreme leaders of the Artificial Intelligence and Games Summer School, who have now joined us, so we can bounce over to them. Gentlemen, how are we this evening?
Oh, wow.
Hello. Wow.
Hello. Hello,
You look
Tom.
great. We will be talking on top of each other for the next 30 minutes. You have to tolerate that. You have to deal with that. We have been doing that for the last week. Sorry about it in advance.
Actually, we've been doing that for the last 15 years. Exactly.
15 years.
keep going on. But Tommy, you start with these really hard questions. How are we doing? How would I know how I'm doing? You know, it's like, you know, it's like after a week like this, how would you know how you're doing? Anyway, so I'm not going to answer with words, but
Straight
anyway.
There we go.
Here's my answer. So, yes, we are doing great. It has been a great week. Very emotional, creative, exciting, full of people, full of enthusiasm, motivation to do stuff, to learn new stuff. As a matter of fact, we are doing this for the last 3 years because we get that feeling. We got that feeling from the first year already. Enrica has been there. Tommy, you've been there. You've seen it. It was a surprise in the first year. So we keep doing it, and every year it becomes better and better, surprisingly enough. And the community is growing, and there is a sense of community now. We felt it this year more than ever.
Yeah, I think the first time we did this, it was just like, wow, this is such an amazingly positive feeling of there are people really loving this, and you get so much appreciation for it. So we could not do it again, essentially. And now we're back at it. And of course, like, is the usual thing, people who don't like it won't have said anything, but I get the feeling that people did like it this year as well.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting as well, given, as you're saying there about sense of camaraderie and the sense of people enjoying it and a sense of community, considering this is a virtual event. And of course, the last 2 years it's ran physically. So I'm kind of curious, like, were you really thinking about what parts of this you'd have to rethink entirely when you moved it virtually? Like, is there one thing that you miss about the physical, but is there also like one thing you'll miss if we actually move away from virtual maybe next year?
Right. Shall I
Getting into
start?
the questions, here we go.
Oh, okay. So I can start. Listen, I mean, with everything else in life, you win something, you lose something. So this year we won on diversity and inclusion. So everyone could join from everywhere in the world. Well, not necessarily true. Some people in Los Angeles complained. Some people in Japan complained. We couldn't satisfy all needs. Exactly, it's the problem of Earth being sort of rounded.
It's like time zones fucks everybody approximately equally, except people in Hawaii who are like, royally fucked. But that's
So that gave us an opportunity. At the same time, yes, it was challenging, but both of you have been at FTG. You saw how well that ran. We transferred the best practices from there, including the TV, including the Discord channel and so on. And I mean, FTG was the greatest pilot study of all. And I think it worked pretty well here. Yeah, all the new things that we had to adapt actually worked pretty well in the virtual setting. We are hopeful next year we'll manage to do that in person.
Yeah, I miss a lot of like in-person aspects. I miss sort of just actually meeting everybody. I'm one of those people who really want to meet people in person. But what Jorge said, it's great to have people being able to participate from everyone. Whoops, did I cut out?
Your face froze for a bit.
I did. Okay.
But other than that, you're good.
I'm sorry. It's cold here. My internet connection is unstable, Zoom helpfully tells me. But yeah, what Jorge said. And we had a lot of discussion at the closing session of this, like if we can do it in person next year, how will we do it? And I think many people suggested some kind of like hybrid thing that you can still participate in. I don't think participating virtually will ever be the same as participating locally, but it's great for there being some kind of option, I think.
I mean, I've talked about that in other places as well. I think going forward, we need to have that virtual element. How big that virtual element is, who knows? Like, I think this for a lot of different events, but certainly when you see the level of enthusiasm and engagement from people who are able to just participate virtually in something that they wouldn't be able to otherwise, whether it's the health situation, whether it's visas, whether it's travel expenses, everything. Like, there's so many barriers you're breaking down by virtue of putting it online like that.
Yeah, not true.
We have a very good case here. Myself, I've mentioned that so many times, but just because I traveled to Iran. I couldn't go back to New York and be there for the summer school in 2019, which was, we handled it well, but it was far from being ideal. So, you have other people. You might have other people with situations like that.
I mean, there are many situations of various kinds. So, I mean, my wife is Iranian, and we wanted to go there now, but after like weighing a lot of factors, we considered that it was best not to. And there are many places, many people who work with complicated travel situations, unfortunately. But hey, one day.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think that the social side still worked pretty well. Of course, that's like, I think one of the greatest highlight of this summer school, that you get to know people at early stages and build collaborations that can go on afterwards. So you've run this summer school for 3 years now, right? And the content changed a little bit throughout the years. But did you see also a change in your audience, what their interest is, the questions, and maybe you adapted it also according to that, or you didn't?
It's a very good question. I think the general demographic breakdown is very similar. Our median age is 27 or something. And there are people, some people are master students, many people who are PhD students, similar, good amount of faculty, and also good amount of developers from industry of various kinds. And a couple of people who are like, don't fit into any of these, like, Italian Air Force officers and stuff like this. So things you don't expect. But this is, so demographic breakdown has been about the same, but the interest of people, I think there are fewer people now who simply want to sort of, I want to learn how to make reinforcement learning that beats games. I think there's a little bit more maturity in how people see the relation of AI and games, and more awareness of how wide it is. And that also means that there's lots of interest in sort of wider spectrum of applications.
I think I agree. The community matures as we go along, and the more we sort of engage people in that community, the more we train them on the holistic view of AI in games, the various ways you can use AI in games, the more the community becomes, it is diverse, but at the same time has a wide interest around AI in games. And you meet, what was exciting this year is that you meet people that come from very different industries, like manufacturing, for instance. You hosted, Christina, the other day here, making the Metal Tetris game, which was quite an exciting attempt. You have people from Italian Air Force. So we met people from interactive arts that they have an interest in games, and all these people, yes, they can see the value of games as an arena for trying out AI technologies, and the other way around, how we can improve games, how we can transfer all the game technology to their sort of domain and their problem. And that was very exciting. And we met these people during the coffee breaks, the Zoom coffee breaks, which was another really interesting feature, way beyond expectations, actually. in this year.
Yeah. I think we're seeing the world is moving towards seeing more and more things as games, either towards like the sort of trivial notion of gamification, or the more sort of interesting notion of things everything being kind of a game-like simulation, and game-like simulations being used for everything. So it's like, I hope that, before the end of my career, at some point, people will stop asking about like how stuff that's useful in games is going to be useful in the real world, because people are going to stop making this silly distinction between games and the real world. It's what you always said about the coffee breaks. Coffee breaks were good. I mean, this sort of, sure, you need a structured format, but you absolutely definitely need an unstructured format where you basically sit in relatively small rooms and people feel free to open their mouth. And also you have a light sort of diversity pressure, in the sense that you ask people who have not said anything yet to just say something. If people are sitting in position X working on thing Y, there's something interesting to be discussed there.
I feel bad.
And I think,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. And I think it's a chemistry, this sort of 50-year-old chemistry between myself and Julia. So the different personalities of complete anarchy all the way to sort of structure that, puts the things interesting, because anarchy actually features structure. chaos also has structure. So I think it works pretty well.
I feel bad now because I never actually attended any of the coffee breaks because I've been working around the summer school all week, so I've been kind of tuning in for the talks, and then I'm off doing something else. And actually, like usually every day there's like 2 to 3 hours minimum we're spending doing like production work to get this done. But so I've got a big question for you both because we've asked this question to all the panelists. We were asking them, like, what's the future of game playing, of PCG, of analytics, of player modeling, automated testing? What's your take on this question? Is there like a low-hanging fruit that we haven't thought of about game AI in general? Is there some lofty goal that we should be striving towards? I realize that this is going to potentially double the length of this stream, but well, maybe ask Jorgos first because Julian, we'll just figure out where to cut you off.
All right, so I think, right. Low-hanging fruit is not an easy one to think now because just as a person, I'm not thinking of low-hanging fruits. I'm thinking of I don't know. It's just like Julian. We had a discussion with Julian about the personalities, the way we view the field. I tend to be a bit more abstract than Julian is. He tends to see the low-hanging fruits better than me, but. I think as a vision, I would say we need to put all these 3 areas that we have been talking about, the 3 themes, more closely together because they're not in silo. They don't operate in silo yet, at this point, but I think there could be a better integration of all these 3 elements. So I envision agents that can play well, they can feel well, and at the same time, test your content. So as an idea, right? Which we haven't seen yet, where puts all the critical elements together. This is what I would want to look at. And then obviously there's a lot of talk about generality and transferable characteristics between games, to which degree you can actually plug in agents, plug in affective agents, or plug in PCG systems that can sort of generate stuff in the wild. To which degree that makes sense to start with, philosophically speaking, and to which degree it will work, it's one of my passions. And the stage is yours, Julian.
I think what you're saying there, Jorgos, about this, like, the plug and play thing, we have been talking about it for a long time, combining all these content generation and characters and playing strategies, etc., play modeling of various kinds. And it's a kind of research that should be done, it should be out there, and we want to see it done, maybe do it if it can be done, but it's not low-hanging fruit in the sense that, the amount of work that is needed, the amount of systems integration needed is really big, the amount of data from real games is really big. So this is like high-hanging fruit. This is like a fucking 10 feet banana that's sitting at the top of the tree or something like this. If you're in academia and you want to score easy points, well, this sounded extremely cynical, didn't it? I never sound cynical. If you're in academia and want to sort of get some nice cited papers out there, you would import the whole ethics in AI and power dynamics in AI and some discussions to game AI. Mike Cook published an interesting paper, which I think is really good, and I commend him for doing it. I disagree with very much of it. And I need to write a response to it at some point. But I think it's very interesting. But there's even beyond that, there's much more. There's like the whole discussion about what do the player models model, who owns it, what can we do with it, and so on. There's tons of stuff to talk about there. And I would love for people to write intelligently about this in a respectful way. That was a lot of words. I'm sorry.
We talked about that, I think, in an AI and beers session at Dagstuhl, if I remember right.
Yeah.
That I remember us discussing this ethical quandary, but I don't remember the meat of the discussion because there was beers involved.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, Tommy, many of the ideas that were presented in this summer school, or the very idea of the summer school, and the very idea that you are here joining us, have been part of this, this Dagstuhl series, isn't it? I mean, it's.
Yeah, sometimes you don't remember the meat of the discussion, but you remember the spirit of the discussion.
True.
Anyway, so when it comes to more technical achievements, there's a ton going on in PCG via machine learning, and people are like, there is actually a bunch of low-hanging fruit. I reviewed a paper that tried to make some decent progress towards generality and modeling sort of in trying to learn from several different games to generate new content. And I mean, it's not like they solved the problem or anything, but it's interesting. And I think there's rapid progress is going to happen there. Then, of course, if you're a game developer, as we've seen, many people have learned the hard way. There was a paper called Machine Learning, the High Interest Credit Card of Technical Debt. And it's kind of true, because like trying to do machine learning in a way that it fits into your product and works long time is complicated. And you need the old processes around it. How do you retrain? When do you retrain? How do you safeguard the integrity of your model and so on? Now, if you want to do that with modern PCG techniques, how do you productize? How do you operationalize? How do you really use modern PCG techniques? In the last decade or so, or decade or more, there's been a ton of academic advances in PCG. If you're a game developer, look at this wealth of papers, these hundreds of papers which have made progress in PCG, and how do you make this into a game or a game service or something?
Well, I think you guys might also be looking to tackle that in your own respective way elsewhere. But I think that might have to be a subject for another time, because our top production team is telling me off because we've kept you on for so long. But Julian, Yorgos, as always, a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for joining us at the end. Congratulations on running the summer school. I think it's been a fantastic week. I've certainly
congratulations to you two and the production.
Enrica and Tom
have been doing an amazing job.
We're nearly there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Alrighty.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
We'll speak to you in a bit. Alrighty, we're nearly done. Thank you once again, Julian Degelius, Yorgos Yanakakis, the mum and dad of the summer school. We can leave them to decide which one is which. So, as we did last year, when we did the FDG TV, we have one last thing that we do, and we did this at the end of FDG TV last year. We wanted to do it at the end here, where we actually have the production team, the four of us who have done the summer school TV throughout the week. We all hang out together, and we actually do our own little kind of brief moment of closure, our own post-mortem of the stream while we're still streaming it. So David's already joined us. David has returned. How you doing, David?
Very good. Very tired, but very good.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's the general consensus. Antonius looks how the rest of us feels. I think that's fair. So I guess we even left questions for ourselves. How tired are we all?
Quite a bit. Scale.
Yeah, exactly. What is the scale?
7 out of 5, I would say.
I think we're doing all right. I think we can survive another 5-10 minutes.
I think we can do another week if we have to. We should put it up on the Discord, see what's the consensus. If the students want to go on for another round of Game Jam, we can do that.
Can't do another week of these streams.
Don't give anybody any ideas.
I actually have family visiting, so if you want 2 children running live into the stream while I'm trying to do this, then next week will be very interesting.
I think we've solved the children running around the stream with us as well. Anyway, just popping in at random intervals.
Certainly, funnily enough, talking about tired, because it's interesting because we kind of semi-produce the show while the school's happening, and so every day there's a couple of hours of prep every day, and it's sort of been, I think it's been quite varied. So certain day, today's been really funny because today was the least prepped until half an hour before it, because I'm where's all the things that I need to do this, because I went off and prepped all the videos for the game jam and everything. But every day we've been double checking our guests, making sure our guests are all going to be here, what questions we're going to ask, what's the questions for the panels and stuff. I actually woke up at 5 a.m. this morning Well, I don't
I like how you have to tell the audience. I like how you have to tell the audience whether today was prepped or not. Like they have eyes, they can see.
No. But I would like to be fair. There was still a couple hours of production went into this. Like I think it's just important to point out that we actually have to spend a couple hours a day preparing this. We don't just jump into the Zoom call and boom, it's happening.
The semi-professional organization. Today was semi. The other days were more professional.
It's always like semi-professional unprofessionalism. I think that's, and if you can make that look somewhat professional, then you've nailed it.
Actually, if I can jump off of that, because this is supposed to be our post-mortem session, there's a reason we do things live, and that's because it allows us. I mean, first of all, we don't have to take a lot of time editing, but also we kind of like, I think, the things that emerge on the first take. And sure, we could rehearse, certain technical hiccups or certain questions that we could have, presented better to our guests. But this is a nice organic discussion.
This is like tell me that you're doing PCG without telling you're doing PCG. Like I just like how stuff emerge live.
Like
I mean, if it crashes, it crashes. There you go.
But I mean, this actually does speak to the fact that you're saying that we really like that organic element to it. Like at the same time, when we've confirmed that someone's going to come on and chat with us, we actually do prep questions for them.
We do,
because we don't want to turn that into like a hijacking or to make them feel uncomfortable live on camera. Because we've had final year undergraduate students, we've had first year PhD students. And a lot of people who don't know us, so they maybe know one of the four of us, but and particularly they maybe don't know me or Enrica, and so they're coming onto the camera, and then we're like, right, okay, we're gonna ask you a very serious question, and you're gonna answer it. Like that can be really uncomfortable for people,
right? And this is something that we learned, I think, lately while doing our other work at FTG TV. Is like it's really good to give people at least a prompt so that they don't feel like anything goes, which is also important in this specific context with speakers from the industry, as you well know, Tommy, because we kind of produce this show in a week kind of thing. I want to give a shout out. I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about. I want to give a shout out to Enrica, who just immediately responded within 30 minutes. I'm on. 5 days. I'm on.
Why not?
No questions whatsoever. It's like, great. This is the kind of thing we want to hear. But yeah, we prepared this in a week in advance, and asking people to come on a week in advance can be stressful, depending especially on what kind of sensitive information you might or might not give.
Yeah, and I'd been pegged to come in and host, and then it was like, okay, cool, I'll do the hosting. And I said, right, well, Antonius should come in and join, because Antonius and I had done FTG TV together, and we know that this isn't like everyone sees the hosts. It's like, this is really we actually find it tends to be a 4-person project. You need to have the host, you need to have the co-host, and then you need to have somebody that's just in charge of the whole thing, and then the other person that's just keeping all the plates spinning. And I think that's David's job. David is professional plate spinner. And
I believe his self-ascribed term is mailman, but
mailman, indeed. As in the delivery of post.
Postman, sorry.
Not gender.
Yeah, it's
mailman.
It's a movie. It's a very good movie. You should watch it.
It's a very good movie. I'm the Kevin Costner of the summer school. One that's on the record.
Yes, actually, in our Discord, in the summer school TV Discord, it has just been the postman summer school.
1997.
Yes, I also want to echo that sentiment for Enrica, because we were like, we really need to find a co-host to come in. Listening to me the whole time is really boring. Oh no, who do we ask? And I think it was Antonius was like, oh, Enrica, because Enrica came on FTG TV last year, and you were great. So, like, how did you feel about that? Because you said yes so quickly. I wasn't sure if you thought about
Second thoughts. You ran this 5 times. How do you feel now?
No, I'm joking. Actually, I didn't think about it that much. I mean, that was a pretty quick.
Clearly.
Clearly. I'm in a phase where I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's see how that goes. I was on FTG TV. It was fun. And I like to stay behind things and see how they run and get involved. So that seemed like a cool opportunity. And you look like fun people, so said why not?
That's the trick. If we look fun, doesn't matter if we're not.
Yeah,
right. I mean, if you see our chat lines, I think we were pretty fun throughout the production.
There's so many things.
80% just postman meme.
Yeah, meme.
Yeah, you're just trying single-handedly to try and get the postman to become a variety of memes.
I started on a postman meme Twitter bot to get this running. I mean, it's there's like 5 images from the postman from the whole movie that are memeable, but we can get this going, I feel.
I haven't actually seen that film in over 20 years. In fact, I'm pretty sure I only saw it about a year or so after it came out. And yeah, I was in
Who's
high school
producing this
when that
show?
film came out. Yeah, I've not got anybody harassing me in the Discord right now to do stuff.
How far are we going to take the postman discussion?
Oh,
yeah, we're gonna get like a takedown notice.
Yeah, right.
DMs.
Like tomorrow,
DMs.
Kevin Costner's lawyers will come in and they're like, no, none of this.
Can't have that. Can't have that. On a serious note, because we have it here. Like some notes, one of the things we actually do is we have goals when we're running the show, particularly around the speakers that we have in and like the range of different people we want to bring in. Like Antonius, I feel like you could probably speak to this quite a bit because we've talked about this before, but you are often kind of steering the boat in many respects, I think.
Yeah, thank you. This is a very well prepared question. But I mean, I really wanted to talk to this effects because I know that people that attended the school, a lot of them had really interesting things to say, right? And they did. We watched them chat during the coffee breaks, and we had a chance to talk to them as well. And obviously, they didn't appear on the show. It's really tough to find a cast that will be both interesting. No, I don't want to say interesting, like diverse enough, and also speaking to the points of each day, because each day did have a theme. So a lot of people were working on game playing agents, for example. And we kind of prioritized getting as many voices as we could. And because of the structure of the school, it was really tough to, figure out, because it wasn't a conference where someone had a paper. So like we read the paper and we're like, we want to talk to this person about this paper. So we had to go based on online biographies and social media presence, etc. So that's doubly challenging because some people have extravagant social media presence, others don't, and it's really tough to do that, going in blind. But what we prioritized as well is to also give a voice to diverse interests, and we had people on to talk about believability in games, about industrial manufacturing, about paleontology based on machine learning. We wanted to get a bit more diversity on the topics and on the faces. And we have a backlog of people, and every day, because of the way we set things up, we had to basically adapt our content based on who was willing to go on, because we're asking people who might be, new, bachelor students, as the case may be today, who were asking, a few minutes before to go on. And we need to be aware of, that might not be something they want to do. So we had to basically adapt much more on, I think, this version of a TV, a virtual meeting adjacent TV show than we did for FTG TV, for example.
Like, I certainly think as well, like one of the things we're always striving towards is to minimize the, like when you actually go to an event typically like this, it's a lot easier to break down barriers that are achieved by virtue of your previous work and your established like body of work that you've done. And so, you go to a conference, you maybe go and chat to that professor on the other side of the room because you think, oh, hey, cool. Or you're at an industry event. So, oh, that's somebody who works on this big franchise for this big AAA studio. I'm going to go and chat to them for 5 minutes, have a quick discussion, even just put a face to names, etc. And I think these virtual events have a real risk of actually reinforcing all the negative
Yeah.
issues there. And so on one hand, it's like we want to get all these people in who, and I really enjoyed the fact that, we do the production briefs, we go away and we actually document who's going to be coming in, we find out a little bit about them, we prep the questions, and it's like, I've never heard of most of these people. These people seem awesome. I can't wait to chat with them for 5 to 10 minutes. And then at the same time, we're hoping, are they going to be okay coming to chat to us? Because, there's a whole bunch of PhDs sitting right here. I think one impending, too. You can do it. But, and immediately that creates barriers, or just a genuine concern, I think, that, oh God, I don't know if I'm okay talking to these people. Particularly as a first year student, you're always worried that you're going to say something. And no, I'm not going to use that particular Scottish idiom because there's a lot of swear words in it. But essentially that you're going to say something that you feel is going to make yourself look bad, your imposter syndrome is going to flare up. And we really wanted to try and avoid that as much as possible. And like, I love this stuff because so much of what I do on my side on YouTube is I go away and just look at other things other people are doing. Like I find that I feel like an idiot most of the time now because I look at so many other different things that other people are doing. And I don't really have a specialism of my own anymore. I'm just like, I'm surrounded by really smart people, and I'm the idiot in the room, which is funny because I think most people don't feel like that at all when they come on.
You're not an idiot, Tommy.
I'm a doctor idiot. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Mm.
How should we wrap up?
All
what
right.
What do you think worked well, Tommy?
Come back to me. I haven't prepared my answer. David, what do you think worked best?
Well, I mean, I love the whole event, not just because I'm played a major role in organizing it. So, but if I had to pick a favorite, I think the TV was amazing. With all the amazing people, I think I think Adonis didn't mention that we all also strive to feature diversity, to give voice to people in our community who, like, historically or traditionally didn't get enough voice. And I think that's a very important job that we are doing, apart from just being entertaining or popularizing the summer school and the whole field of game research. But otherwise, I enjoyed the talks, the few ones that I could actually catch, because there's a lot behind the scenes that a lot of people, I don't think they know what's going on, like little fires everywhere that we have to put out every day. But I love working on these summer schools. This is my third summer school that I had a major hand in organizing and doing everything from the graphics to the website to the emails to keeping in contact with everybody. But I wouldn't change it for anything. It's an amazing and very gratifying experience.
As long as it's over.
As long as it's over.
Until next.
I kind of danced through. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, and I also want to give a shout out to Kevin Costner.
We're gonna be sued.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Go for it, Tommy.
So I guess, I mean, on one thing, like generally, like, actually, this is the first time I've actually attended one of the summer schools, which is funny, given I've been in and around this community now for a long time, almost 15 years. Actually, it's just shy of that now, which is a little terrifying. I think I really like the summer school in general. It's really great to see this proliferation. I think, Jurgis and Julian have already kind of spoken to this to some extent. The proliferation of it, that the community is continuing to grow. It's growing in ways that we hadn't anticipated before, and I think that's great, particularly as somebody who spends an awful lot of my time trying to build awareness of a lot of the work that happens both in the academic side and in the industry side surrounding AI and games. So to see this sort of thing occurring and continuing to foster stronger bonds, and trying to break away from, and I say this as nicely as possible, But the original community that this was built around was very much a very particular sect of academia. And so seeing it break away from that to some extent, I think, is absolutely fantastic. On another more slightly more saccharine note, one of my highlights is definitely the team here for the summer school, because we all do something that we all balance against one another in really interesting ways. David essentially keeps the whole thing running in the background with the larger organizational, like, how many emails did you send or like pings on Discord did David have to do in order to make sure we had guests coming in? Antonius is essentially the central producer. He's telling us all off, making sure things are getting done. Enrica comes in and does a great job really getting to know our guests, because sometimes I slip behind with this because I'm focusing on the technical element. I want to make sure that the actual stream is running, but I'm also
Microphone
trying to
is on.
brush up on the guests, and the microphone is on. Shut up. I already checked. So sometimes I'm really focused on the technical things, then I'm like, oh, I still need to brush up on the guests. But Enrica's actually went off and found a bunch of really interesting stuff about our guests and is able to deliver really cool questions. And yeah, I think as a team, it actually comes together really, really well. And I think I said this when Antonius and Yorgos called me up and said, hey, we want to do the TV thing. And I was like, right, we need a team, because it's not just me pressing the buttons. I'm the one that starts and ends the stream, but there's a whole bunch of people that actually makes it happen. Enrica, what are you thinking?
Okay, so you said it all basically. No, but about the school in general, I think one of the greatest things is that you have a perfect merge between the research area and then the industry aspect. So that gives a broad overview of to who's attending on what's out there. And so even if they're not like super interested in academia, they still know what they need to do and work on if they want to get into the industry. That's very cool. About the TV, well, of course, the production team, that's the best thing. But other than that, I really liked the diversity, as Antonio said. And also connected to what Julius said, that's very cool, because usually people ask, how do you apply things that you do in games in the real world? But we actually saw that there are people that are going into that line, and that line is being more and more blurred. So that's what I like the most.
Antonius, have you done yours?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not even sure where we started. This feels like a very long chain. But
I mean, this is going to be the end.
Yeah, I think so. I enjoyed, obviously enjoyed really a lot working with you. You can see that the chemistry is evolving from show to show. And, in the beginning, because it's live, things are a bit tighter. And then as we go, like right now, we don't even care what we're saying, apparently. But we did have some criteria. That criteria was met. Actually, I danced around the issue that David mentioned. We wanted to highlight female researchers explicitly, also because we knew that from the panelists, there's going to be a more, there's going to be less diversity. So we tried to highlight a bit more on the guests front. And I think that it's a really nice thing that we got such interesting people to come and talk to us about their different diverging interests. And hopefully we covered a good range of, starting researchers and more mature researchers to tell us about where, including, of course, Yorgos and Julian, including to tell us, where things are going, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's always I think it's always an interesting balancing act. And you're right about the chemistry thing. Like, one of the things, like, having Enrica on as my co-host has been great. The funny thing that most people don't realize is Enrica and I have never actually met in real life. So we met on FDG TV last year, and then we were like, oh, you were great. We should have you come on and be the co-host for this, and then. Cool. So we're trying to build a rapport so we can do this whole thing, and it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to actually meeting you, in real life, and we can grab a drink and hang out or whatever. So, the perils of online. The perils of online. So wrapping up, we're gonna pull the plug on this. We're going to end it. We all have alcohol to consume, I think, or dinner to have. Do you think we'll be back next year?
I mean, there's one important question first. Right. Well, that's why I wanted them to not be on while we say this. The question is, are we coming back on this format? Because we would all like to actually meet in person. So ideally, we will run this virtual stream co-located and sharing a nice view of, a nice venue. I would say that would be ideal. How about that?
It's not bad at all. Bottle is empty already, says Vladislav in the chat, apparently. No.
I thought that was Julian, but fair enough. I would believe both.
I think, Julian's probably finished that bottle. But we've also had to say, please be back. Well, we'll see how it goes. All this is as a result of the situation as it currently stands. But who knows? Maybe we find another way to do this potentially in a physical format. I don't know. I quite like the vibe that it generates. But we'll wrap it up there. Thank you to the three of you for coming out for this little post-mortem at the end. And thank you, of course, to all of our guests, to all of our panelists. Thank you to our game jammers who came in to hang out with us as well. Thank you to the bosses for coming in and, talking for a bit. And, of course, thank you to all of you who've tuned in either live or you've watched the streams after the fact. It takes people, and it also requires an audience. So we got the people, we had the audience. I think we won. I think at the end we've done a pretty good job of it. So thank you to everybody. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Take care, stay safe, and we'll maybe see you next year. Bye.
Bye.
Ow!